Those 10,000 John Deere workers going on strike already hitting the picket lines in Illinois, but the strikes don't stop there, as some possible walkouts could now impact health care to Hollywood. Terry Moran is tracking the latest for us.
10,000 workers at John Deere hit the picket lines in Iowa, Illinois, and Kansas. They argued that even as the agricultural equipment company's profits grew by 61% in recent years, and their CEO's salary grew by 160% during the pandemic, their pay has actually been cut.
We need to let them know that they can't continue to take our money and take our money and take our money.
Across the country, labor is on the march. In California and Oregon, 24,000 nurses and other healthcare workers at Kaiser Permanente voted to authorize a strike over pay and better working conditions. Meanwhile, union workers at Kellogg's cereal plants have been on strike for more than a week, angry about long hours, including 7-day work weeks.
Our number one priority is to get back to the negotiations table and reach a contract so our employees can get back to their jobs and their lives.
And soon, Hollywood may see a walkout. 60,000 film and TV crew members could walk off the job Monday over what they claim are unfair working conditions.
Our hours are really grueling, and we need not just rest between the workdays and over the weekend, but an actual meal break during the day.
And across the country, a record number of workers are quitting their jobs. 4.3 million Americans, or 2.9% of the workforce, left their jobs in August. Many are looking for better work conditions and pay, especially with inflation on the rise. Several forces are driving all this as the pandemic eases. Companies are seeing sky-high demand and very tight labor markets. They can't fill jobs. Workers are noticing that top executives and bosses are getting paid. And so for the first time in a long, long time, workers have the upper hand. Kira?
Terry, thanks so much. We know you're on your way to Illinois. We will see you there from those picket lines. You know, John Deere has released a statement now, and here's what the company is saying, that they, quote, remain committed to working toward a favorable outcome for our workers and our communities. Specifically, we want to reach an agreement with the UAW that would put every employee in a better economic position. The tentative agreement, reached after weeks of negotiations, honors our commitment to work with our employees to provide them with economic progress and a rewarding career. Jonah Furman, who has been covering the John Deere strike for Labor Notes, joins me now for more insight. Jonah, you have recently wrote about John Deere supervisors actually reading from a script when they address employees. Tell us more about what you learned and were able to reveal from inside these plants.
Sure. It's been really interesting speaking to some of these salaried employees who are non-union but are siding with the strike. A lot of these are low-level managers or technical workers who have seen that the upper-level management has not kept neither union wages or salaried wages and benefits up with profits at the company. So unlike some other, labor disputes, big chunks of the non-union workforce seems to be on the side of the strikers. Management in these plants has been going around, and workers have described it as heckling or making threats about closing plants, trying to get workers to accept the deal they've already rejected by 90%, and saying things like $1 an hour raise is enough, while the company makes literally its most profits ever.
So basically intimidating the workers.
Yeah, I would describe it as intimidation. That's how workers have described it to me.
So why is this happening now?
It's a great question. A big part of it is that Deere is having its most profitable year on record. They're about to record something like $5.9 billion in profits. Their stock price has doubled during the pandemic, and workers' wages and benefits have just not kept up. It used to be, before 1997, you work at John Deere, you get a pension with full health care after retirement, which is necessary for these grueling jobs where your body just can't take it for a full 50-year working career. So after 1997, workers' pensions were cut, the health care was cut, and now Deere wants to cut it again. Everyone hired after November 1st under Deere's proposal would have no pension at all, not to mention no retiree health care. So these are workers who are fighting for retirement justice and wages that at least keep up with inflation, which the current offer does not. And the context is Deere is making its record profits. And if you look at the books, they can afford more. There's something else going on where they're deciding not to give a fair deal.
Yeah, wouldn't that be amazing if you could see every little detail in all the books? You know, according to some of your other articles that we've been reading, you mentioned that workers are getting penalized for not hitting certain rates. Is this cargo crisis impacting supply shortages, and is this all impacting negotiations as well?
I'm really glad you asked that. There's something at Deere called the Continuous Improvement Pay Program, and it basically means that every 6 months, your rate of production that you're expected to meet as a production worker as part of your team goes up by 2%, but wages don't go up by 2%. So they're facing the squeeze. Meanwhile, with this parts supply shortage, with the supply chain, as you mentioned, some of these plans are still being rated as if we're, in a pre-COVID economy, but parts aren't showing up, so workers can't hit their rates. There was a large arbitration that the union lost really recently before negotiations, and the new contract does nothing to address these piece rates, basically, that workers have really been frustrated by if they're on a failing plan.
And we're also seeing how this strike is influencing other protests. We're kind of watching the domino effect here. I mean, how big do you think this is going to get, Jonah?
It's really hard to say. I mean, the benefit that the John Deere workers have is that they're organized into a union. So you also see that with the film and TV strike, the IATSE workers, about 60,000. And the Kaiser healthcare workers organized across several unions, about 40,000 healthcare workers there. These are the groups that are feeling what everyone else in this economy is feeling, that the job has become unbearable during the pandemic, that wages have not kept up with the K-shaped recovery. A lot of these corporations are doing just fine, but the workers are not seeing the gains. If you're not organized into a union, you just quit the job, like we see at fast food restaurants with a piece of paper taped up. If you have a union, you have some kind of mechanism to fight back, and that's what we're seeing from these unionized workers, is that instead of individuals quitting one by one, they're saying, if we stick together and hold out, we can get a better deal.
Labor Notes writer Jonah Furman, sure appreciate your reporting. It really helps us see through this. I hope you'll continue to come back and just guide us through the various strikes that keep going.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.